Hello and welcome to another slightly delayed version of the Stargazing podcast. I am here with my lovely co-host Caitlin, and we haven't done this in a little bit. It's been a little while, and that's mainly because we've been really, really busy with the game and with essays. We had essays to do. We've both been writing that. I've been busy for a week longer because I need the extension. And so that's taken up a fair bit of our time, but we have got a lot done in these 3 weeks.
I'd say it's a positive delay because we've just jumped straight into production.
We're doing, honestly, it's weird. It feels almost scary to be doing the level of production that we are doing.
I know.
It's making it real. Our game is real.
Like it's gone out of prototypes and we've gone to different departments and spoken to people, and I kind of just had the moment of like, oh my gosh, this is happening. These are like the final designs. It's gonna be a board game.
It's gonna be a board game. It's gonna be a board game we've made, and it's fun.
It's so cool, and it's fun, and people enjoy it.
Yeah. I don't even know if we've talked about the fact that we printed off tiles actually. That we got
In our previous podcasts.
We got a full playable MDF print.
My gosh, no, because we did that for the Science and Engineering Fair, right?
We did that for the Science and Engineering. Well, now's your opportunity to talk about getting that print done.
Indeed. Okay, so I think we ended our previous podcast around week 5 to 6, and we've now passed through week 7, 8, and 9. So week 7 was like the week before the essay was going to be like fully handed in. And also that weekend was the Science and Engineering Fair. So Sylvia and I, we got together, we were like, okay, we need a full draft of the rules, and ideally we need an entire just like printed laser cut MDF version of the game. That's non-negotiable, we need this for the Science and Engineering Fair. So we went over to Adam, we were like, hey, pay for this wood for us. And he did. And I think it took like 2 days, they got it done like perfectly in time for the fair, and it was really cool to see 55 tiles all together in our game.
Oh, it's a veritable horde of small wooden pieces of laser cut art.
They looked so delicious.
They're so delicious. They're so clean as cuts. We're back to chunky. We went thin for a print, and it was cool, and it worked, but it didn't feel the same.
Yeah, they felt too flimsy, and also it lost that tactile weight to pieces. I have a thing for things feeling nice and hefty in my hands. I think it's more satisfying. And it was also really good feedback during the actual fair. So many people did say like, oh, I really like this thickness. It feels quite thick.
Yeah, I think if we're going to be leaving them in a bag or keeping them around in a bag a fair bit of the time during play, you don't want to be thinking about the fact that, oh, what if this tile broke in the bag because it got bumped or whatever. They are tiles that are going to be robust, and that is amazing for having it being our playtesting tiles where you let a whole bunch of kids play with these and they were no worse for wear.
Yeah, I honestly, I made peace with the fact that A, we were going to lose tiles, and B, these tiles would get damaged in some way. But no, I'm sorry, I should have had more faith in the tiles. It went really well.
Yeah. For that Science and Engineering Fair prep, I also got all of the visuals done for the rulebook. And then we used your sort of neatened up right through of the rules and slapped the visuals in there, printed them off, and had 2 little rule booklets to bring to the event.
Yeah. I ended up taking apart one of the rule books. So we had one rule booklet, which is closer to what our final product will be because it was double-sided printed. And then we had a second one, which was just single printed. I did staple both of those together, but I ended up taking apart the one that was just a single page printed, and I ended up just slapping it on the table and taping it down. So people could have like an open reference to all the tiles, and I could point to it and be like, here, look, this is what it looks like.
This is what the rules is, and not only one person can look at the rules at once, which seems like a very smart move for showing a whole bunch of people.
Speaking of the rules as well, I was so happy was that combined with our writing and your visuals, there were many instances where I was playing with kids, probably from like, I'd say like a 7 to 10 age range. And there were multiple instances where other kids wanted to join in on a game, but we were obviously in the process of playing one, so I'd be like, okay, you can play the next game. And I would give them the rules, and they just read through the rules and understood the game. Like, they needed maybe a little bit of help with calculating points at the end, but I had two kids on two separate instances just read the rules independently and then sit down with me and were like, okay, time to play. And they just played it correctly.
That makes me really proud. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a mark of our accomplishment.
I'm just so happy about it.
Yeah, it means that when I've been doing the rules of this game, I've kept it simple enough to fit the the design that we needed. Of
Yeah.
it can be a family game, and
Yeah.
family games suck if only the adult understands what the hell is going on.
No, but like genuinely, this kid. I even had like another kid, but to be fair, he had played it twice at that point. But we had a separate kid come join us, and he ended up explaining what like a few of the special tiles did, and I was just like so happy.
Hell yeah! Was that the black hole kid?
It was the black hole kid. How did you know?
Oh, 'cause he's sweet. I will
So-
say I wasn't here for this event. I was up in Bushy or Guildford doing a competitive Keyforge event, which was very fun. I had a great time with, and was actually weirdly still good research for knowing how sort of competitive events at local game stores work and how they're operated and how it's very community focused.
Which is good because we kind of want that. Like, that was one of our core values when creating this game, right? It was, yes, there's the competitive aspect, but it was mainly like the whole reason we didn't go digital is because we wanted that community, that face-to-face chatting and contact between players.
Yeah, a board game you can have a conversation over.
Which we did.
We did. I think we've filled that very, very nicely. Would you like to talk about any other bits of your experience of doing the science fair?
Oh, it was great, honestly. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot, like, there were a lot of people funneling in and out. So, interesting enough, because at one point we just had so many people, like, cycling through, I was trying to look for ways to, like, cut down the amount of playtime.
Yeah.
Just because people can't sit down for 30 minutes, I'm sorry. I mean, a lot of people did, but at the height of the event, people couldn't. So I did this in two ways. The first way, I don't know why I thought this would work, but I was like, oh, we'll just take out the faff of calculating a combo. And wouldn't you know, if you did that, the game ended a lot more in ties.
Yeah.
And there was no way to differentiate winners. I think I did that about 3 times, and 2 of those times ended in a tie. And I was like, who would have thunk if you took out an important value of the game, it wouldn't work properly.
Yeah, and it also discourages interesting placement of creating long, vulnerable chains, because
Exactly.
you just, in that instance, you just place things next to sources and you win.
Pretty much. So following that and realizing, that's not the smartest way to cut down on time, I ended up just taking half the tiles out.
Yeah.
And then the games ran for about 15 minutes
Yeah,
and still did the same thing.
lovely. It's good to know that it's scalable based off tiles.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you just like take out quantity, and it didn't affect like pathing too much either, because I didn't have time to make it an equal split. So there were probably more of a certain type of tile than others, but it still worked, and it was still a good time.
If it's showing people the game for 15 minutes, it doesn't need to be the specifically balanced experience that we've made. It's just, hey, get an idea of how this game would feel. And there's also
Yeah.
the longer version, which is probably, it has a bit more of a early game, mid game, end game shift than the sort of Blitz version you created would.
Indeed.
We could
But,
include the Blitz version in the rules. Just saying, just take out half of the tiles randomly, and then play.
yeah. I mean, we could just like a little note at the end of like, oh, the speedrun edition.
Yeah, that'd be fun. You also did a lot of good art during week 7.
I did. I did so much drawing that I kind of hurt my hand, but that's fine. I did a good blend of physical artworks. I finally designed the watercolor backgrounds for all the god cards, and then I separately drew some really nice inked artworks for all of the gods. I think, yeah, I liked my first draft when they were kind of based off of Alphonse Mucha's work and a lot of like Art Nouveau stuff. Issue there is that I feel like the poses were really lacking like dynamic movement. So I was like, okay, overhaul, I'm going to do this all again, and I'm going to actually use references of real life people. Who would have thought that would make things more dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, in Alphonse's work, he just kind of puts a woman in the frame, and it's like,
It really does.
there she is. And it's
She
pleasant.
said.
It's very nice. I love
Yeah.
Alphonse's work, but it doesn't really lead to any kind of movement or dynamism.
Yeah, I would argue that most of the draw to his work comes from his really nice colours, print work, and the line art, but probably not the poses. I mean, the poses are gorgeous, but it's more about, you know, those swirling motions he makes with the hair, or like the integration of roots in like the border design. It's all about the border.
Yeah. Lovely.
But yeah, so completely overhauled all of them, and scanned that into Illustrator, converted it into a digital file, and then I was just going to leave it at that. I just put them in front of their backgrounds and sent it off to you, and then you gave me some really good feedback, which I think elevated the final pieces, and I was like, okay, yeah, now they're done.
Yeah.
Which was you told me to put a slightly transparent block of colour over the illustrations. I mean, sorry, the inked artwork, so that way you could actually see what on earth I drew.
Yeah, it's a fill, just sort of a fill of the colour. And it, like, your line work was lovely, just it's thin against a mottled watercolour background, it got lost.
Mm-hmm.
So just adding a bit more solidness to the gods just helped you see the cool art you've done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cool. And we also got social media off the ground. Insta started actually posting things. Starting, I think the first ever post from her Instagram, which was very funny, was from Spoons, a story. I mean, just a random photo from my camera roll saying, "Hey, go to the Science and Engineering Fair. We'll be there." Because I realized the day before, I was like, oh, we should probably like advertise that we're gonna do this. I know only people who are gonna be there already follow, but you know.
But still,
yeah, get
the possibility, like, I should have used it more to like point people to it, but we also didn't post anything until after the event, so.
Yeah, and you've taken over getting some nice posts out in sort of the weeks afterwards. You're doing a lot of posting of art and early playtesting, and it's lovely. It's going very, very well.
Yeah, just focusing on basically cataloguing our development, but in like a visual way. Because in my brain, the website's gonna be full of blog posts and written work, but then Instagram, I don't know, I always view Instagram as more visual, so that will be where all of the art development and like the physical photos will prop up.
Yeah, I think I think it might make sense if I sort of take the blog posts and you take the Instagram.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to be doing like more mechanics or just writing about our actual like grievances with development, maybe.
You can get more into the nitty gritty in the blog posts of your mechanics work.
Yeah. I to be fair, I need to work out how much more mechanics work I still need to do on the game, because the game is in a very healthy spot. There's not an obvious issue that's cropping up with
Mm.
replay, um, which means I think my mechanics work will be adding 3 more tiles. It's possibly adding more to the game rather than refining what we already have.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, I think honestly we could just leave the game as it is right now and it'd be fine. But it would be nice to get like a third set of like secondary, intermediate, and or expert, however you like to view it, just to round out. So then we have like 3 sets, because magic rule of 3.
Yeah, I just love the number. Yeah, I think I can definitely get a third set done. I just want to do it early so it doesn't affect our production, because
Oh yeah.
it is new designs that you're going to be forced to illustrate.
Yeah, it would kind of suck for me, especially because we've kind of agreed that post Easter break, we're just going straight into the whole production and just getting the game out and fully furbished.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, we can print them later. We'll still have, presumably, some of the same wood left over as scrap. And it will probably be, like, I mean, estimated 9 tiles if they don't come with extras. But,
Yeah.
like, maximum I would do is, like, 15 tiles and or tokens.
Mhm.
So, if we can
And we
print it onto
planned-
the rest of the scrap, it should be fine.
Yeah, and we plan to have a pretty decently large box, and we can make altars to it. That should be pretty simple.
Yeah, definitely. If it doesn't fit in the box, we can be like, oh, this is a DLC, and just put it in a pouch or something. I don't know.
Put it in a bag.
Yeah. If players want to try it, they have to spend £5. Give it a shot. Yeah. So we went into week 8 then, and it was just a lot of essay stuff, really.
Yeah, week 8 was a pretty big slump in work because we had the essay due date there, so we wanted to prioritize that.
Do you want to talk about your essay?
Yeah, I could talk about my essay for a little bit.
If you only if you'd like to.
I mean, there's not too much to say, really. I actually was pretty fortunate because I did my essay very early on into the project. I think as soon as I had a good comprehension of what it had to be, I got into the mindset of, like, get this out the way early so I could focus on developing the game. And as a result of that, very early on in the development of Stars Align, I was just scratching the surface of the star motif, specifically how I would go about designing the gods and what kind of inspirations would come from there. So I ended up doing my essay on... I'm trying to remember the title. I don't believe I remember the title off the head, but I ended up doing it on the mythology and history of stars and how they've influenced humanity throughout their development.
Like,
What about you? I think you did yours more relevant to board games, and I am actually really curious about what you wrote.
that's fair. I started saying, oh, I'm just going to look at tile mechanics. I'm going to look at how board games use tiles in different ways, and then we can look at the way our board game uses tiles and be like, that's a good way or a bad way. And then there is a total of 0 academic sources on things like Google Scholar for tile-based research in board games. And there was like a couple of articles that weren't good. So I then went back to the drawing board and sort of trawled through, and I ended up, I was like, oh, I can look at board game genres. And I looked around, I found, oh, our game is pretty much the ideal Euro game. It fits all of the boxes. I should just write an essay on Euro games. And so I wrote about the origin of Euro games, the fact that they were like a cultural shift in Germany after World War II to avoid like the glorification of war and all of that, and general conflict. and then how their core principles affect their development, and all of that. Talked about them in comparison to war games and stuff. And it's very funny that we we set out with the goal of having something that is an interesting and complex strategy game that comes through very simple rules and can be played to almost a competitive level where it's very cerebral, or as a family game. And that is exactly the goal of a Euro game.
Really?
Yep,
That's
that's
so
it.
cool.
And then the way you do that is you have no direct conflict, which turning tiles doesn't count as direct conflict. So we fit that. Simple but like elegant rules. The way I've designed the rules has been perfectly to a Eurogames standard, effectively, which feels very silly. Multiple ways to score points. Um, God, it fits uncannily well. A reduction in the amount of luck in a board game, so you get like American games like Frustration or Game of Life and stuff where it's mostly luck. Yeah, and I sort of, through writing the essay, realized we'd made a Euro game. I should look at other Euro games and look at how they've considered their rules and use it in art.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to compare it to this because obviously, like, you're very skilled and a lot of like good thought went into this, but it does kind of have the energy of like using the wrong method and getting the right answer. Because I was completely unaware that Euro games, well, there was like even Euro versus American games to begin with.
Yeah. Very funny. They call them Ameritrash games.
Really?
That is the genre name that I was able to use in my essay.
That's so good.
When talking about Cosmic Encounter, which is a game I adore. It's
Mhm.
just, it's more social and luck based rather than anything else.
So that's interesting. Run it by me again. What is, if you could boil it down to one sentence, what is like the difference between a Euro game and a Ameritrash game?
Okay. Eurogames are elegant systems in simple rules that create interesting strategic decisions where each player is independent and makes, basically, can win or lose based off their own merit rather than luck or other people influencing them as much. Whereas an American game is often longer and focuses mostly on a mix of immense amounts of luck, like Snakes or Ladders, which is just rolling dice, or social or social interaction, such as Cosmic Encounter, where you're weird aliens in space convincing other weird aliens in space to do stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm gonna have to read your essay once you submit it.
Yeah.
Some of
I'll
your
get you
sources.
to. I'll submit it later today, and we can do an essay swap.
Nice.
Cool. Do we want to move on to week 9?
Yeah, this is our current week that we're recording on.
Yep.
Yeah, I did quite a big task that I didn't think would be a big task. But I kind of post science and engineering fair, and I think it kind of hit me that like, oh, this is the last week of term before Easter. And then obviously post Easter, as we agreed on, is going to go straight into production.
Mhm.
I was like, this is probably the last time I go over and adjust the icons for the tiles. And so I pulled all of them up and I was like, okay, are we really satisfied with these tiles? And I kind of looked at them and I was like, no, I don't think they all fit together. I think by nature of how they were created, like there was a clear split between the tiles I clearly designed when it was like in the base game, and then the special tiles which I designed separately.
Yeah.
And so putting them all together, I was like, this does not gel well. I mean, it can, it's fine, it's held together by that overarching motif of like, these are all things that happen in space.
Yeah.
But
And
visually, I was like, this isn't working.
yeah. It's sort of, it was a bit more forgiving with the difference between special tiles and non-special tiles because they're also in a different category.
Yeah. But that being said, I was like, okay, I'm gonna overhaul this, and I was really worried the entire time I was doing this that I was like, making a mountain out of a molehill, especially because I spent like a good 2 hours just like readjusting. So my energy was mainly focused on the sun tile, the source, Saturn, and shooting star. Shooting star, because it's so annoying. Turns out, for like, the reason why it's been looking off to me is because it was slightly off and it was not center.
It wasn't centered?
No, the star in the middle was like a 46 angle to the right. Like, it wasn't fully straight. And I just never noticed it until I had to go in, ungroup everything, and like click on the main star of the shooting star, and I realized it was like slightly tilted. And I was like, you motherfucker. So I adjusted it, and it looked fine.
You've been haunted by 1 degree for so long.
Yeah. No, because I'd been looking at it, and because I adjusted the streamers at the bottom, not realizing that I adjusted it to that tilt. So now, in previous iterations, I just made the entire thing tilted. And I was like, why are you not center? Like, I have centered you. I've tried my best to, like, make you center and look nice. And then, wouldn't you know, it's because it was slightly off by a degree. So
Oh, well, glad to have that ironed out.
yeah, so that was fixed. But otherwise, I think looking at the nebula and the source tile, I redesigned the source, and like I kind of went back to my roots of magical girl energy, and I made it a more clear crescent moon, and I just bedazzled the heck out of it. It looks great. I love it to pieces. And then I zoomed out and I compared that to the entire thing, and I was like, fuck, it looks out of place now. And I realized it looked fine against the nebula, and that's because they both had a star motif very central to that icon design. So I was like, okay, I could probably carry that icon to both the sun and the Saturn. And that way, for the special tiles at least, we'd have 2 tiles that have those star motif, and then we have 1 tile in each like category that kind of does its own thing. So, for example, in the first set, we have the sun tile, which, with its updated design, now has a little star in the center instead of the little circle.
Yep.
The nebula, which also has the star in the center, and then the black hole, which does not, but that's fine, because in the second set, we have the shooting star, which is a star. We have the Saturn, which I ended up breaking up the block of color with a bit of negative space and put like a little white star in its center. And then we have the wormhole, which doesn't have that star motif, it's just a big spiral. But when you zoom out and look at the entire thing altogether, it's nicely balanced.
Yeah, and they still feel in place. I think the black hole and the wormhole would look weird with stars in them.
Yeah, I think they're quite complex in their design anyway, that adding more stars would kind of fuck it up a little bit.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah,
Are you happy to have that done?
Yeah, sorry, I ended up rambling about that.
Okay.
And obviously, if things need to be adjusted, they do, but I'm pretty safe to say that these are the final icon designs that we'll be using in the final game.
Yes, that is really weird, because you've been altering these designs since week 1. When I sort of came on, I still have the original paper print sat on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
And I can pick them up and look at them, and they're so different. There is so much going on these tiles, because it was built for a very different game.
Yeah.
And it's very fun to see how far we've come, and how our
Really
design
is.
ethos has changed with it. And you finally get
Yeah.
to put down your pen and stop doing Illustrator for this.
Oh my
at
god.
least. Stuff
Love you, Illustrator, but you gave me so much pain.
God, it's a interesting program. It's like a wild horse sometimes.
Indeed. It's a wild horse that everybody online keeps telling me works perfectly if you just know what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't. Please stop assuming I do.
If you just know how to ride a horse, there's no issue with the horse. I mean, what, you don't know how to ride a horse? That's crazy. Everybody knows
That's
how to ride a
wild.
horse. Yeah. Then
Yeah.
we went in, we made a couple of adjustments to the rules. We reordered them.
Yeah.
We There was a couple of wording things where, like in the scoring, it would say you can do base points or you can do combo when they're additive. So it felt like they were two different ways to do scoring, which I think
Yeah.
may have been confusing.
Oh
And
yeah.
like a couple of small things where the wormhole didn't say you place things out early, and we never said you only have three types of special tile and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of just minor adjustments to the language that, if not done, just doesn't doesn't convey what we want to convey. So
Yeah, it's just a bit of rules polishing to make them very easy to understand.
exactly.
And then we went and we had a chat with Andy, the printmaking guy,
Hmm.
about what we would need to do to make a box. And then we had a lovely workshop with Andy, where it's the same as what we did for board games in year one, but you were ill for this, so
Yes, it was my first time.
it was very very helpful to go and do this. We He came in with a cardstock box, and we were learning all of the nice and proper ways to print paper and design onto this box.
Hmm.
It's a lot of very precise folding and cutting with like an X-Acto knife, and then gluing this net around the box. I think all of it is very very simple and doable, except for one tiny thing about making the design wrap around the inside of the lip of the top of the box, where
Oh
you
my
have to
gosh, yeah.
do a millimeter, half a millimeter cut through two pieces of paper, and then do exact cuts off that cut. Um,
Yeah, it was real finicky, but if done well, is look makes it everything look really flush and really nice.
oh, it's really really nice if it works. There's a reason why we were being told to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I've just been doing essay too for week 9.
Mm.
I'm done with that now. Finally, all good. Um,
Well done.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to bring up with week 9 before we go through what we need to do over Easter?
Not particularly. I think just apart from we now have a good comprehension of how to measure out our box, and we'll probably be doing that later this week.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, otherwise, what are the tasks we need to do over Easter?
Um, well, for me, I need to get us a very, very nice big plank of wood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I need to work out, because Celeste said we could do pretty much any wood on the laser cutter,
Yeah.
because it should just effectively you change the intensity of the laser depending on the wood, so it's
Mm-hmm.
very flexible. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to do some research into nice woods. I'm going to go back to GCSE DT. I'm going to get us like a nice wood that will take a stain or a lacquer very nicely, have a good grain, and probably a darker wood, I'd say.
Don't
Um,
go too dark, because then the rasterizing might get lost in like the intensity of the color. But
of
yeah,
course.
definitely like a darker color.
Yeah. Uh, then I need to finish up the website because we've made a website that I'm working on organizing. It has the theme we're using is lovely and beautiful, but also kind of a pain because it keeps telling me to use AI, and I don't want to. So
Yeah.
I'm just working around that. I think the way to do that is basically we have all the info on one page, and then we have a blog post page where we can do blog posts, and then that should be fine.
Yeah.
So I just need to set that up properly, and then I will start like sort of getting some scheduled posts up on our Instagram for what we're like, what we've been doing, how playtesting has been going, talking about the documentary. I won't be able to do too much about the documentary because we've not started doing that yet, but I can get some storyboards written up, drawn up, and then maybe post those.
I
Um,
think that sounds great.
Yeah, and I think that's the main things I need to do while we're away on Easter, because we do want to take this as a proper break.
Oh yeah, I think we need it. I think everyone in our course needs a proper break.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. It is.
But
They do, funnily enough, never tell you making games is easy, and they are right. It is tough, but I think we're doing a good job of it.
yeah, I think we've met our quotas. We're working through it, and everyone seems to be in quite a good position.
Yeah, we're meeting all our internal deadlines, which is good.
Yeah.
What do you need to do over Easter?
Meanwhile, I'm going back to doing the tried and true. I gotta design the box art. So that is figuring out dimensions, which hopefully we'll do this week. Is that now that I have dimensions based off of that for our like net, I need to create like a really nice watercolor background for said box, figure out the placement and design for the title. I think we want to keep it just simple and have the title nice and big across the net. Put that all up into Illustrator, have that as a PDF primed for when we get back to then create the box. And then I have to sew and craft 2 bags for us to put the tiles in and also to put into the box, which
Love.
is super easy. I just need to get some nice fabric. I got my sewing kit back home, and that'll be done in like a day.
Oh yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. I haven't sewn in ages.
Yeah, it's a nice way to relax, I guess, and also do something for the project.
Exactly.
And then when we're back, we are straight into the swing of things with making 2 copies of the full game.
One
Which
for
is-
you, one for me.
Yeah, we are being a little ambitious when we do that, but I think it's 100% worth it to both get a copy.
I think so
Having-
too.
2 tester copies will allow more people to play it at events.
Mhm.
And it means we both get to go home with the board game we made. And if we want to show people for job stuff or for home stuff, or just be like, I made this, we can do that.
Yeah, you see that on the shelf right there? That's a board game that we made.
Yeah. That'd be cool. In time.
We'll do it.
Yeah. We got to spray paint all the small wooden star tokens to make them coloured.
Mhm.
Trusting my mental math, we have 47 tokens for each player, which will probably make 45 and just have a couple spares kicking around.
Yeah, sounds good.
And then we are doing the documentary about
Mhm.
everything. Oh, I forgot to take photos of when we were doing the printing.
Oh,
That's
that's
right.
fine. We'll take some photos when we head back and actually do some printing.
Yeah, when we do the real one to make the box.
Oh, we forgot to ask Andy as well about the little cardstock prints of the gods.
Oh, that'd be super easy.
Yeah,
That's,
I'm assuming we're just printing it on thicker paper.
I mean, that works too, actually. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking we'd just do the exact same thing we're gonna do with the box, where we do the bottom bit, we cover the bottom bit in the rules image, and we fold it
Mhm.
around so it goes around the edge, and then we slap we print the god one and glue it on the top, and then it's simply a single piece of cardstock. It's had things glued around the side, like the bottom of the
Mhm.
side, and then the god one to go over the top.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense. Okay, so
Yeah, it should work the exact same as making the board game case box.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're in a pretty good position. We're primed and ready to both take a break and then also jump straight back into work after Easter.
Yes. Hopefully we'll be revitalized and ready and raring to get back to working on our game.
For sure.
Well, I can see the sun on the horizon and the embers are burning low. It's been a wonderful night under the stars with you, and have a lovely day out there.